Yeah, dragon spirit. You got that? Get that?
Welcome to the Channel 4 News. I'm Ron Burgundy. Kind of a big deal.
And I'm Veronica Corningstone.
Today in the 1741 century, the agricultural revolution has struck Europe.
Caused by population increases and new farming techniques.
Now to Brian with the open field system and the common lands.
Good morning, I'm Brian Fantana with the open field system. This system is probably the greatest agricultural accomplishment we've ever seen. It is predicted to last until at least the 20th century. The land is owned by the king and rented and paid for by his lords. The lords, in turn, have full jurisdiction over the land. The open field system divides the land into several large fields cultivated by communities of peasants. Typically, the villages have 3 large fields surrounding them with the main town in the center. Each village has a church and the lord's manor with housing for the peasantry. The fields surrounding the village are miles across, and villagers would have strips of land in each field, making it so that each person would have a share of both good and bad land. However, the major problem with our system is soil exhaustion and limited fertilizers. Soil exhaustion is when nutrients are depleted from the soil through unsuitable farming of one single crop. The impact of these problems are lessened by rotating field crops, which vary the type of crop planted in the soil, giving the soil more nutrients. Around the open fields is common land, which the townsfolk have full advantage of using. This common ground is used for sheep and cattle grazing, as well as collecting fuel and building materials. The open field system is a good system in the sense that it creates a community and cooperation between the villagers, yet many townsfolk deem it to be very inefficient. In the long run, this will create more communities of villages, making farming more efficient, friendly, and cooperative.
Interesting. Now what about the enclosure movement?
Oh, the enclosure movement is a very controversial method of farming, and it is becoming increasingly popular day by day. The common lands described in the open field system are now restricted only to the owner of the land, thus ending the commoner's rights to use the land for cattle grazing or haymaking. Once an area is fenced in, so to speak, it becomes privately owned by the noble, and the peasantry are now his workforce. Although popular amongst the rich, the enclosure movement or fence system is dreaded by the peasantry, who wish to have some land for themselves. The enclosure movement is met by revolts and bloodshed. Let's hope it doesn't affect our agriculture in the future. Back to you.
Very interesting. This improvement in agriculture is very promising. It allows for better farming results. But one problem still persists, and that is soil exhaustion. In some developing areas, crops are only grown in 1 out of 2 years as fallowing is necessary. But some really smart people have developed ways to extend.
Okay, moving on to crop rotation with Champ.
Salutations from friends. As the lovely Miss Corningstone correctly described, fallowing is necessary and crucial to avoid nitrogen depletion in the soil and to prevent crop failure. Most farmers today alternate a year of fallow with a year of cropping. However, this new method called crop rotation allows for continuous production and reduces the need for artificial fertilizers, which are extremely expensive.
This new method seems promising. How does it work?
This is top secret system, but for you, Miss Corningstone, I will tell you. The method of eliminating the hated fallow is alternating grain with certain crops that restore the nitrogen in the soil. They are magical crops. They include peas, beans, potatoes, and clovers. The popularity of this method is increasing exponentially as some very intelligent farmers are developing complicated patterns of crop rotation to suit different kinds of soil. This method is mainly supported by experimental scientists, like myself, and some government officials.
Okay, enough of that crap. Crop rotation is not the only development that increased agricultural innovation.
No, Ron, it's not. I'm Brick, by the way. In recent years, I have observed an increase of inventions in agriculture. Some historical background first. From the Middle Ages until the 1700s, the Black Plague, famines, and war have kept our population low. However, due to increasing populations, today we have needed to produce more food. The Dutch are leading the way in the new technology and inventions to produce more food. Because of their poor land and very populated area, they have been pressured to discover ways to increase their food production. The Netherlands, being the trading center of Europe, have become extremely wealthy, allowing them to develop more tools. Not only have the Dutch been using crop rotation, but they have also used other methods to produce more food, such as the use of manure and enclosed fields. The Dutch also drain their swamps to use the land for farming. This method is now spreading to England because their new king, William Orange, is Dutch. However, the Dutch haven't been the only ones busy with a solution to the problem of hunger. Just last month, in England, Jethro Tull has invented the seed drill. This device allows the farmer to individually plant seeds at their proper depth in the soil, instead of just scattering seeds. Therefore, the birds won't be able to eat the seeds either. Today, people are now actually publishing books about these agricultural inventions, directed toward farmers. Some say that education is actually more important than these inventions. These new farming inventions will eventually lead to more food and thus a larger population.
Thanks, Brick. With agricultural methods developing at this rate, there will be so much food that no one will starve. In fact, everyone will be fat.
Talking about fat, animals are getting really fat. Check out this picture of a Nubus ox. This is because of selective breeding, a questionable method used to create plants and animals to suit particular needs. A particular trait such as fat cows are favorable, and techniques are being developed to increase the likelihood with plants and animals for certain beneficial traits. For example, people in many European countries, England for example, enjoy horse races. As a result, people are figuring out methods to breed faster, quicker horses to win races and catch up with the speedy foxes, which always have been escaping. Also, the breeding of bigger, fatter livestock puts more meat on the table, as well as bringing in more cash from sold meat. One example is the quality Nubus ox, which, as the picture shown earlier, is a great fat beast praised by poets, yes poets, and often pictured in the press in previous years. While the method of this selective breeding is hotly debated due to its morality, it is certainly very helpful for humans at its least. Already, the English food production has soared like the feet of Hermes, raising over by 300% and using 14% more workforce. This method is also relatively new and only started being widely practiced by 40 years ago, starting at the century. If food production continues increasing at this rate, in 100 years, food will occupy every inch of this planet. However, selective breeding does have its risks. It may change the evolution of some species and some vital genes may be wiped out. This would only occur after several centuries, so we should be safe for now. However, eating these altered foods does not negatively affect our health. Back to Andrew.
Yeah, moving on to something more interesting. With all these improvements in agricultural methods, it is drastically changing the lives of people all over Europe. Dmitry Kalishnikov from London keeps us updated with these crucial changes.
The agricultural revolution changed the people of England's lives, and eventually in other parts of the world. In order to stimulate an industrial revolution in the future, England was able to sustain itself and massively increase its production and the quality of food. Before the agricultural revolution, the 17th century, population growth slowed and the death rate remained high. However, as a result of the open field system and alternating grain with new nitrogen-storing crops, farmers were able to have ideal feed for animals, which in turn allowed for better diets for people. These effects could only be felt by the lower countries and England until the end of the 18th century.
Thanks, Dmitry Klishklash. With the growing population, there are more poor peasants who need to find a new way to generate revenue. This leads us to the cottage industry.
Yes, Ron. The poor in the countryside are in desperate condition as they only receive very small earnings from the agriculture. They are trying to find a way to supplement these earnings with other types of work. They are willing to accept minimal pay, so capitalists in the city are keen to employ them. As a result, manufacturing in peasant cottages is growing rapidly, and rural industry is becoming more and more popular. This new system, often called the cottage industry or domestic industry, a debatably more common name, the putting out system, is emerging to describe the key features of current rural industry. This system works in an intriguing way. Merchant capitalists loan raw materials to cottage workers, who process these materials in their homes and return the finished product to the merchants. Then the merchant would pay the worker minimally by piece and then sell the product. This system is not perfect, as many variations exist, but in all cases, this so-called putting out system is a type of capitalism. The system is expected to grow as it has numerous advantages, mainly to the merchant, as peasants would work for extremely low wages. The cottage industry is already having a tremendous impact on society. For instance, many kinds of goods are produced. These include textiles, such as housewares, clocks, gloves, musical instruments, and much, much more. And luxury goods, such as tapestries and centralized workshops.
Okay. We get it. Also important in the news is the textile industry, which is being completely revolutionized. We have Jonah in Wales to keep us updated on this breathtaking topic.
Hi, I'm Jonah Hornass. In the past, the industry that has employed the most people has been the textile industry. A typical activity for peasants engaging in the putting out system is the making of woolen, linen, and cotton cloth. Rural workers live in small cottages with small windows and little space. Workers often live in the same place that they live and work. A peasant's cottage consists of a single room that serves as a kitchen, workshop, and bedroom. Within a worker's cottage, the weaver's loom was the largest and most valuable piece of furniture. John Kay, an Englishman born into the peasant class, changed the design of the loom somewhat in the early 18th centuries by his invention of the flying shuttle. The flying shuttle let the weaver throw the shuttle back and forth between threads with one hand and greatly increased the speed at which textile products could be produced. The cottage industry was a family enterprise, and all members of the family helped to produce goods. Every member of the family had worked for them in the cottage industry, even at a young age, which encouraged peasants to marry early and have large families. Work and thread was always needed in the industry, and family would hire widows and unmarried women called spinsters to spin thread so that the weavers could continue working at a brisk pace. The relationship between peasant workers and capitalist employees was often not a good one. Between the two, there was constant disputes about the wages of workers and quality of the cloths produced. Merchant employers constantly accused workers of stealing raw materials, while weavers complained that they were not given the right amount of materials. Because of the cheap, unorganized rural labor, the workers were hard to control. This presented a problem for the merchant employers. Often after work, workers were paid, they would tend to drink and relax for a few days, which often caused them to not be able to finish their quota at the end of the week. If the workers did not finish this quota, there was little the merchants could do about it. Because of this, the putting out system in textile industry had many faults from the employer's point of view, which would lead to the employers trying to find more efficient ways to produce materials. This often created further conflict between the merchants and the workers. Back to you.
And for all of us here at the Channel 4 News Team, I'm Veronica Corningstone.
And I'm Ron Burgundy. You stay classy, Lafayette. 9459.
And thanks for stopping by, Lafayette.
Mainly, stay classy.
But thanks for stopping by.
Stay classy, Ron Burgundy.
And thanks for stopping by, Veronica Corningstone.
Stay classy.